there would be in a presidential election. But for many of the Democrats, many of the Republicans watching, that candidate is named 23. The 23 seats the Democrats need to take control of the House. Now, the 7 o'clock hour has arrived, and we have the following projections. In Indiana, in the Senate race there, the Donnelly race, we're calling it too close to call at the top of the 7 p.m. hour. In Vermont, no surprise, the re-election of Bernie Sanders, the independent, who caucuses with the Democrats. In Virginia, no surprise, Hillary Clinton's former running mate, Tim Kaine. This is the race Kaine was in against Corey Stewart, who made a big splash early, not so much along the home stretch. The U.S. Senate at this hour, and this, of course, is fluid and will change all night. That is the undecided portion in gray of the U.S. Senate. We'll fill in those seats as we go. And a race.
One second. Don't lose your train of thought. We do have a call. This is in the Ohio Senate race. Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown is projected to hold on to his seat in Ohio, fending off a Republican challenge from Jim Renacci, who had closely aligned himself with President Trump. Sherrod Brown had been somebody who Republicans had sort of salivated at the prospect of knocking off very early on in this prospect, but he will, it looks like, comfortably hold on to his seat tonight. Steve, let me get back to you there. Sorry.
The 8 o'clock hour here in the East. And we're going to start with one that we've been covering tonight. We just don't have the finishing data on it as 8 o'clock arrives. Florida governor, too close to call at this hour. Florida Senate, also too close to call. Missouri Senate, closely watched race tonight, too close to call at this hour. Tennessee Senate, too early to call. Blackburn is the early leader in that race. Massachusetts Senate, and the next 6 people are going back to work in the Senate. Let's just say that. Elizabeth Warren, no surprise. Connecticut Senate, Chris Murphy going back, no surprise. Delaware, Carper is going back. The Democrat, no surprise there. Ben Cardin in the state of Maryland. In the state of Pennsylvania, Senator Bob Casey. In the state of Rhode Island, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. Over to New Jersey, too early to call, though Bob Menendez is in the lead, something of a huge undertaking given the campaign that Hugan mounted against him. Angus King, the independent in Maine, who caucuses with the Democrats, too early to call. He is in the lead, however. And then in Mississippi, this is, by the way, look at the current Senate. Again, those undecided seats in gray. That's what to concentrate on until we get a little later in the evening. I got ahead of myself. Mississippi Senate. We have 2 races. We're calling them 1 and 2. Too early to call? Too early to call. We have a partial list of them. Again, some of these closings were at 8 o'clock. In Florida, however, too close to call. We're watching it.
Wow, very close.
To the state of Pennsylvania we go. Wolf, the projected winner, Governor Tom Wolf. Tennessee, Lee. Massachusetts, Baker. Illinois, too early to call, though Pritzker is in the lead. Alabama, too early to call, though Ivey is in the lead. Rhode Island, too early to call, Raimondo is in the lead. And in Georgia, too early to call. Another widely watched race tonight where the numbers, the early raw has been all over the map. From Illinois, we are projecting Pritzker wins as the next governor of the state of Illinois. A pickup for the Democrats and a hold in Maryland as Larry Hogan will be returning. We have one more Rhode Island governor. It's going to be Raimondo. Gina Raimondo, the Democrat. And let's go over to James Carville. Rachel's warning, her admonition at the top of the evening, and it might be a very late night, remains true. That holds even at this hour of 8:30. So here we are. The poll has closed. Polls have closed in Arkansas. We are projecting Governor Hutchinson is handily reelected there. And on to the other 2. We're watching. Florida, too close to call. Georgia, too early to call. So projected on the side of the building we sit in, the state of New Jersey. New Jersey remains blue. Menendez, who had so many ethical and legal troubles, has turned away. Former pharma executive Bob Hugin ran an aggressive race, especially in the media markets of New York and Philadelphia. But we are projecting when it's all said and done, Bob Menendez returns. To interrupt you, Indiana Senate, Republican pickup. Donnelly has been turned away. This has just come into us. Mike Braun. Donald Trump worked hard to flip this seat from the Democrats. We are estimating that when all the votes are counted, this will be a GOP pickup in the Senate. Steve Kornacki, back to you.
Yeah, the other big piece at 9, but we have a new call right now. This is the West Virginia Senate race. NBC News can project that Democrat Joe Manchin will hold on to his seat in West Virginia. This was obviously a state that Trump won by huge double digits in 2016. That made Republicans very excited about the prospect of knocking off Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is a home state senator above all else. He is a moderate Democrat, much in the mold of Claire McCaskill, who's fighting for her seat tonight in Missouri. But Joe Manchin will be returning back to the Senate, and that will make the Democrats happy, especially given that just moments ago it looks like they have lost Joe Donnelly's seat. South Dakota, Texas, Wisconsin, Wyoming, all of those states are pulling in their poll closings right now.
9 p.m. in the East has just turned, and here we go. These are our latest projections. Texas Senate, too early to call. We're giving Cruz a slight lead in this race as of now. Texas governor, reelected the winner, Governor Abbott. Here is the two-way race of the Texas governor's race as we look at the math that went into this. Wisconsin Governor Evers is the lead, but officially too close to call. Arizona Senate, too close to call. Remember, these western states just coming in. North Dakota Senate, too early, though so far Kramer is leading. New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand going back to the Senate. In Minnesota, our guest earlier, Amy Klobuchar, going back to the Senate. And then these are coming in fresh. This is Heinrich going back to the Senate, New Mexico. And now I'll take them off the side of the building. Tammy Baldwin, Democrat in Wisconsin, going back to the Senate. Wyoming, Barrasso, member of the senior Republican leadership, returning to the Senate. Here's the Michigan race, too early to call. Minnesota, too early to call. And at this hour, the U.S. Senate, let's pan down on the ice. Notice again, gray seats, undecided, 17 question marks with a 44-39. Live from the control room. Blackburn wins. She has turned away Bredesen in the Tennessee Senate race. Both parties fought hard for this one, but our projection is when it's all counted, all said and done, Marsha Blackburn will represent the United States Senate. Remember, this is a net hold for the Republican Party. This is the court. Let's also not forget Princeton undergrad, Harvard Law doesn't hurt. Here's another projection in Colorado. Wow. All right.
Democratic Governor Jared Polis in Colorado is the projection from NBC News. I should tell you, there will be a number of firsts this evening. Jared Polis will be the first openly gay man to ever be the governor of an American state, and congratulations to him.
We have a call for Fisher in the Senate race. There you go. We'll put it on up the side of the building. And can you take us out to Texas?
In on that Senate race, everybody wondering. Let's see here. Right now, Beto O'Rourke leading this thing.
Kansas.
Really? Did you just get a call?
Yeah, we're calling it right now. It just arrived in my ear, to my mouth, to the side of the building.
Wow.
R. Kelly.
Wow. Kansas. Okay, you guys, this is a big deal. Chris Kobach you have heard of because Chris Kobach became a figure in the Trump administration without ever officially joining it. He was brought to Washington to head up the voter fraud task force.
And how did they do?
They didn't.
Look at that graphic. That would indicate we have some poll closings coming up in 1 second. Here we are, 10 o'clock Eastern time. And a name you might recall from the modern history of American politics. That name is going to the U.S. Senate in Utah. Let's put it on the... Oh, we're trying. We don't have the board. Okay, we'll do this verbally. Mitt Romney is going to the U.S. Senate. There's the music. There's the building. There's the pan up, the stars. And Mitt Romney will be heading to the U.S. Senate as a freshman Republican. Imagine that. In Montana, the tester race, so many people curious about, they'll have to be curious for a bit longer. Too early to call. Ditto, Nevada. The Dean Heller race. Jackie Rosen's bid to unseat him, too early to call. Forgive the interruption.
That is going to be a fascinating race to watch unfold.
Back onto the ice. Thank you, skaters, for giving us the ice tonight. There are the undecided gray Senate seats and a meter of its own in yellow.
And I mean, the way to look at this, yes, there's the yellow undecided seats, but that's the floor that the two parties have in terms of how many seats they've already guaranteed. You see how close the Republicans are to guaranteeing a continued majority in the Senate, but it's going to be a tooth and nail fight for everyone. We should have expected them to be this close. But in Florida and Texas, we've got incredibly close races. We do have a new call right now, though. Brian?
Kevin Kramer, the projected winner. Thank you so much. North Dakota Senate. No, that's okay. I was going to.
Can I throw this at you?
Here's the problem for the Dems. There were a lot of Democrats secretly, quietly holding out hope that, especially as Native Americans found a workaround to an effort to suppress their votes, that maybe Heidi Heitkamp might find a route to the finish. It was not to be tonight.
No election.
We have a big call. This is out of Texas. NBC News is projecting Ted Cruz will return to the Senate from Texas, and Republicans will be guaranteed control of the Senate as a result.
Let's go to Chris Hayes, who is in El Paso at Beto O'Rourke headquarters. Chris Hayes, we've been going back to you.
In a single one of these districts tonight, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 Democratic pickups in there.
So, Steve, let's just reiterate. Right now, with Texas winning the...
Here we go.
Excuse me.
Excuse me? That's okay.
That's all right.
For the Democrats, this is ball game. NBC News is predicting the Democrats will control the House of Representatives. It's been a night of victories, and it's been a night of some painful losses for the Dems, but this, of course, hands a vital branch of government to the opposite party.
To be clear, with Texas Senate going to Ted Cruz, NBC is projecting that the Republican Party will hold the Senate. NBC is now projecting that the Democratic Party will hold the House. So this means divided control on Capitol Hill. There's a lot of other races to cover over the course of this evening, including a lot of fascinating governor's races. But in terms of overall control of the two houses of Congress, at this point, it looks like we know how that big part of the story is going to end.
This is for tonight, and that is governor's races. Let's run the board. Starting in Michigan with a Democratic pickup tonight. Whitmer is going to the State House. And in New Mexico, the Dems have picked up the seat with Grisham becoming the governor-elect. In Arizona, this is the incumbent, Doug Ducey, returning. In New York, we hardly even talked about this. Mario Cuomo, token 20% opposition tonight, going back to Albany. I'm sorry?
Andrew, not Mario.
Andrew, thank you.
Yep, sure.
Boy, you know, names are becoming tough at this hour. In Nebraska, Governor Ricketts going back. In Alabama, Ivey, the incumbent, going back. In Oklahoma, Stitt. This is a GOP hold. In South Carolina, McMaster, you have seen the president campaigning for the incumbent Republican Governor McMaster. Wyoming, a GOP hold, Mark Gordon, the governor-elect. In Vermont, the incumbent, Governor Scott, headed back. And let's go into too close to call. South Dakota, Kristi Noem staying within a couple points. Billy Sutton in Florida, too close to call. We've talked about this a lot tonight in Georgia. Too early to call, much to Rachel's frustration.
Three-quarters of the vote.
Business of tonight. We have divided up these twin Mississippi Senate races into something arbitrary. Mississippi 1, Mississippi 2. This is the latter. As predicted here, as we've been discussing, neither candidate reached 50% in a three-way race. There will be a runoff. As Rachel put it, kind of fixing it on the American calendar, 5 days after Thanksgiving.
That's right.
So
now,
there you have it.
when we were talking about this earlier, there was the prospect, had Beto O'Rourke beaten Ted Cruz in Texas, that this Mississippi Senate race might have been determinative in terms of who controlled the U.S. Senate. Now that appears they do not have that weight on their shoulders for that runoff, and that will change the character of it. Mike Espy will have a real one.
Let's show our work here a little bit. Here's what just happened. We got alerted that Gillum was giving the speech. We're calling DeSantis the apparent winner in Florida, though this had not happened. We had not called the race before the speech started. And let us recap a couple of races here at the top of the hour, since we just passed into 11 p.m. Eastern Time. In California, we have a couple incumbents returning to the Senate. As we just mentioned, DeSantis, we are calling the apparent winner in Florida. Let's go out to California. The Senate race, Dianne Feinstein is going back to the U.S. Senate. In Hawaii, the Democrat Mazie Hirono is going back to the U.S. Senate. We talked about two races tonight in Minnesota. Tina Smith was the appointee going back to the U.S. Senate as a Democrat. In the state of Washington, too early to call. Remember, these West Coast races, a lot of them just coming online for us. Steve Kornacki, we have not record kept as we look at Republican control of the Senate.
In Oregon. Now, we think of Oregon as a deep blue state, but there was question as to whether or not the Oregon incumbent governor, Kate Brown, would be able to win. That's not Kate Brown. That is a projection. NBC News projecting that in California, the governor will be Democrat Gavin Newsom. And thank you, Oregon governor, projected winner Kate Brown, the Democrat, who is the incumbent governor, facing actually a tough race in Oregon against Newt Bueller, who is the Republican there. Oregon has quirky politics right now and has been through some gubernatorial scandals with the antecedent governor to Kate Brown, but she will be winning tonight. And Gavin Newsom will now become a figure of national renown as the head of the Republic of California.
Stabenow reelected. We have this much into us while we were having that conversation in Michigan, the returning Democrat. Another break for us. We'll have more when we come right back. Still more live vote returns coming in. We are back in a couple races we have not record kept on, and that is projected winner of the Ohio governor's race. John Kasich, of course, was not in the race. Mike DeWine and Tim Walz in Minnesota for governor. Georgia, all of you wondering, too early to call, early in terms of the counting of the vote.
Let's go right to Steve.
Here's an important state, a tough state to figure out politically because it's several states in one, as so many of them are. But here is your new projected GOP senator from the great state of Missouri. We had an interview with Claire McCaskill earlier this evening. She knew she faced a tough road. This one, here we go. There's our projection animation. This is Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds, the incumbent, returning. And Steve Kornacki tells us we've had two flips in the intervening moments.
Two more House races to tell you about. Illinois.
In the great state of Maine, NBC News can now project that Paul LePage, controversial Republican governor, will be succeeded by a woman and a Democrat. Sean Moody has conceded the Republican running against Janet Mills. Janet Mills will become the first woman governor of Maine, I believe, and a Democrat succeeding the controversial, sort of pugnacious governor of Maine, Paul LePage, who was Trumpy before Trump. Governor LePage, on the eve of the election, announced to his constituents that now that he was leaving office as governor, he'd be moving to Florida full-time.
South Dakota governor. Nome is the victor after a long night. Kristi Noem from the House of Representatives has defeated Billy Sutton with 94% of the raw in. That is our projection. And Mr. Kornacki has alerted us to a drama in Wisconsin. Loss for the Packers. Sorry about that, Charlie. Well, it was still sad. Angus King in the great state of Maine, the independent who caucuses with the Democrats, is going back to the Senate. Nicole, Maine is an interesting situation. You've got King and you've got a senator who went through the ringer on Kavanaugh. Susan Collins really, it was an interesting journey for fans of Susan Collins.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we haven't talked about Kavanaugh that much.
Because we now have a call to make at 3:32 in the morning in the Wisconsin governor's race. Tony Evers has done it. He is the apparent winner in that governor's race, defeating Scott Walker, who has won twice and another time when he held off the recall election. Scott Walker goes down in the state of Wisconsin to Tony Evers. Your reaction?
This is a solace for Democrats in governor's races after
Rosendale in the state of Montana. Just within the last hour, we've been able to project that Jackie Rosen, the Democrat, will be the next senator from the state of Nevada come January, knocking off the Republican incumbent Dean Heller there. In Nevada's governor's race, Steve Sisolak, a Democratic gain, a pickup there, another in the Democrat category in the governor's mansions as well. We have two late calls in Nevada that we can...
I just want to break in for a moment. We have an apparent winner in the Connecticut governor's race, Ned Lamont, Democrat from Connecticut. So that is a win for the blue in the state of Connecticut. All right, Congressman Costello, the president issued a warning to House Democrats thinking about launching the governor's race in Alaska. Going Republican, Mike Dunleavy wins that race. Back with me, my panel, and also Congressman from the state of Florida, or former Congressman David Johnson on the race there. John Tester, Democrat in Montana. We have been waiting, obviously, since last night, and that Senate race is now being called. The winner, John Tester.
That was a very tight race. It was not being called because the split between the Democrat and the Republican was very close, but we have now called that Montana will remain a Democrat with a Democratic senator. That was the president giving a very long, almost hour and a half long press conference.
We have more news on that front just out tonight. NBC News has declared Democratic Congresswoman Kyrsten Sinema as the apparent winner in the Arizona Senate race, giving her a narrow victory over Republican Congresswoman Martha McSally. Sinema now makes history as the first woman senator from that state, and more history because she has turned Jeff Flake's Republican Senate seat blue. And Sinema reacted.
People who were denied the opportunity to even register. And so a lot of people felt like the result is not legitimate. Do you consider the result in Georgia to be legitimate?
I think that it's legal.
Let me just interrupt you for a second. We do have a call in the Senate race in Mississippi. NBC News is projecting that Sidney Hyde-Smith is the winner of that race. Mike Espy coming up short in Mississippi. And John Heilman, that doesn't come as a surprise. According to the polling, it indicated that all the information indicated that Mike Espy was going to have to pull off something of a miracle.